Hi guys, I am back with our soap sculpture that we started in the last video, and unfortunately there was a massacre. So I have all the soap, which is normal, except for these large chunks, which are not normal, because I was trying to speed sculpt so I could get the video one whole video done in one day, instead of dividing it into two parts, but then he became dismembered. So he's no longer viable, and it's just a really sad time. So this is the reason why you want to practice what I preach and go nice and slow. Don't speed up, don't speed through it. Just because you're filming a video for your class of middle schoolers, don't do it, okay? Okay. So I'm gonna set this aside. And luckily, I have another piece of soap that I worked much more slowly on. And he's here. He looks happy. He's pretty good, right? And so one of the things that you want to look at whenever you finish getting the chunks of soap sculpted out of the side, so you at least have the basic shape of whatever it is that you're making, okay? You want to make sure that it looks like the same thing on both sides. So it's a fish, and so it looks like a fish on this side, and then when I turn it over here, it looks like a fish still, okay? So it looks like a fish both ways. Now, I'm going to start carving into this a little bit more because I want to thin out, because from the front it doesn't look like a fish at all, and from the back it doesn't really look like a fish. Okay, so I want to slowly start working on this, and I still have my lines here that I drew for the fins. You can see those, and so they're on the other side. I'm going to kind of sketch them through here on this side with my pencil. So you guys can't hear it. If this was like an ASMR video and I had one of those like fancy microphone things, you'd be able to hear it, but it makes a nice sound. Okay, and then I have this piece that kind of angles over here. Okay, so we know that the fins are a lot thinner than the fish's actual body, so I'm going to start working on the fins just a little bit at a time. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to go in here with my skewer, and remember, if you don't have a skewer, you can totally use a toothpick. I meant to use a toothpick, but I left it at home, and this is all that I had in my classroom to work with. So a toothpick might be better, but I'm going to use a skewer. You could also use a pencil for this type of thing. But what I'm going to do is, so I've drawn this line in here, and I want the fin to be a little bit thinner so that when I look at it from the front, it has more of a shape like this, kind of like an actual fish does. So I'm going to be taking off some of the fin on both sides in order to make it a little bit thinner. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use my skewer here, and I'm just going to take a little bit off at a time here, just like this. And remember, you're going to end up with a lot of soap in your tray or box or whatever it is that you're using to contain it. Don't forget to dump it out every so often, because sometimes it kind of sticks to your sculpture and then it gets annoying. Okay, so I have this nice indentation right here, and I'm going to kind of continue working through this way, and I'm just kind of scratching it away, just a little bit at a time. Remember, we don't want to rush it. You saw what happened to Fabio over here, right? So we got to be good to this fish over here on the side. So I'm just going nice and slowly to take a little bit off at a time. Okay, and I'm being extremely careful because I'm making this thinner, and this is a piece that would easily break off. Ask me how I know. It's because I already broke one off. So, so I'm going very carefully through here, and I'm taking a little bit off at a time. So I'm just kind of scratching at it, and it's coming off pretty easily. Again, you could do this with your pencil. You can do this with a Q-tip. Not a Q-tip, a toothpick. I always get those two words mixed up. All right. So if you look from the front, it's kind of hard to see, but it's starting to get in there a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to keep Working this through. And I don't want to go super crazy thin because I know that soap has its limits, but I do want to make it a little bit thinner so it's a little bit more obvious that it is three-dimensional and that it's viewable from all sides, so that when I look at it from the top, it looks more like a fish. And when I look at it from the front, maybe it looks more like a fish, okay, instead of just looking at it from the side right now, okay, because the whole point of sculpture is that you can view it from multiple directions, okay? And the whole point of working with sculpture too is being able to kind of think about things from different angles, right? It's a good exercise for your brain, especially since we do a lot of things that are two-dimensional in class. It's always good to do things that are to practice some three-dimensional stuff. And even if you're like, man, I definitely kind of hate sculpture a little bit, or like I'm just not super into it. The nice thing is that even if this isn't your favorite medium to work with, right, you're not a big 3D person, it can help your drawing skills as well because it helps you have a better understanding. All right, let's see if it's a little bit more obvious. Not totally yet. From the side, you can see it. See that nice line right there? Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to be working on this top fin, this thin fin up here, and I will check in with you guys here in just a little bit. You could also use your bigger knife too. I just feel like it would be kind of awkward with what I'm doing, and I feel like this is working really well for me. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of use that for now. And then also, guys, if you have something at home that might work that hasn't been listed as a tool, like something I can't think of, I don't know, like maybe a popsicle stick. I don't know if that would work. But if you have something at home that you could use and that it's okay with your parents and is not a sharp knife, then by all means use it. Maybe you have like a, I don't know, some type of like nail file that would work or something, or a screwdriver, or I don't know. But whatever it is, please make sure that you're choosing something that's not super sharp because we don't want to have any injuries in soap sculpture. It's just soap, guys. Don't injure yourself. All right, well, I will be right back. Ooh, look at him, he's taking shape. So I'll be right back with this a little bit thinner on both sides so you guys can see that before I start on the other fin here. Okay, I don't think you guys are ready for this, but look at her. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell here. Look at this. Look at this. Look. Okay, so if I look at it from the front view, it's starting to look like a fish, maybe with a mohawk, but it's getting there. Okay, so from the front, it's starting to look a little bit more like a fish. I'm going to do the same thing to this bottom fin right here. So again, I started with, for me, I'm using a skewer. You can use your pencil. You could also use a toothpick. Or if it makes more sense for you to use your knife, that's fine. But I'm going very, very carefully on this part because the fins could break off very easily. And so I'm literally just taking off a tiny, tiny bit at a time. Okay, so I'm kind of drawing where the line is first. That separates the fin. Right, and then I'm just kind of shaving away a little bit at a time here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side over here. So I'll draw that line through here. And I will just kind of shave it on down, just a little bit at a time. We don't want to do anything drastic here. Okay, so I'll be right back once this fin is done. Okay, so now I have both fins pretty much done. So it's starting to kind of look like a fish from the front and from above, right? And the back is still pretty like, is it a bar soap? We don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of thin out this tail as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through and emphasize with my skewer this shape that I want to kind of go in. So I'm going to look at this side first that has the drawing on it because it makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to go through here. And I'm going to make this kind of V shape here just because fish kind of have that sometimes on their tails. And I'm going to be super careful because, again, I don't want to mess up any of this stuff. So I'm just going to go in with my skewer because this is the tool that I kind of like for just etching a little bit away personally. Again, you might find using a different tool like your pencil or the plastic knife works better for you on that. I don't know, this is a bigger area. Let's see. All right, that's not bad. Something along those lines. It's okay. Not too shabby. So you could kind of go in like that. I do still think I like this skewer though. So I'm going to work on this on both sides. I'll come back to you in a little bit and show you what that looks like once I have this part done. Oh, buddy. All right. So I will be back here in just a bit. Okay, so I've worked on the tail here. Okay, so you guys can kind of see some of the difference there on both sides. I feel like it needs to come in just a little bit on this side to be a little bit more even. But I've worked on the tail, so this is a little bit has some more form to it. Okay, it still looks kind of squirreler from back here. Okay, but with this, I do want to be kind of careful. I don't want to get too crazy with it, just because I don't want to lose my tail. But the next thing I'm going to work on is with shaping the body. So I kind of want my fish to kind of come down to a point right where his little mouth is at. And I want to round out the body and get rid of the word ivory here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my plastic knife here and I'm going to just whittle away a little bit here on the edges. A little bit at a time. Okay, so it's starting to come in here just a little bit. Kind of see it starting to come down a little bit. We'll kind of work that here. And I'm not going to go super, super skinny, but I do want to whittle it down just a little bit. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to do too is I'm going to round out the body along the sides here in kind of the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this corner here. Let me figure out the best way to hold this. Maybe this way. Okay. And I'm going to kind of take a little bit off the edge here. Very carefully to kind of help round it out. Okay. So I'm just going to work through like this. I'm going to end up doing this to both sides to kind of whittle this down just a tiny bit. And then if I need to go back and make my fins thinner, I can do that. And I'm just taking off a little bit off the top here. So you can see the word ivory is starting to disappear. And if I work back and forth in a bunch of different directions, it'll make it a little bit smoother. Kind of like you do when you're coloring in something. Okay, and so I'm getting rid of the word ivory here, and I'm working on kind of whittling this down here so it's a little bit more rounded on the sides instead of so squareular. Okay, it'll still look a little bit square just because this is a bar of soap, but it'll be a little bit smoother. So I will be right back with that. Okay guys, so we are pretty much there. I've whittled down the edge here. So from the front, he's much more sculpted. He's kind of rounder looking. The tail's a little bit crazy still. I've brought the fins in a little bit more and kind of put them to a point where I could so that it looks a lot more like a fish. Okay, and then I could add in any final details. So for example, if I wanted to put in a fin here, I could put that, I don't know, here maybe. And I could just kind of sculpt it out here. And then what I would do is if the fin is what's sticking out of the body, then I would kind of sculpt around it like this here, right? So if you have something similar on your object, right? So part of it that kind of sticks out a little bit, I would just kind of chip away nearby. Like this. And whenever I move this out, you can kind of start to see that little fin emerge, right? So I don't want to just draw it in there. I want to kind of whittle the rest of this away so it looks like it's something that kind of actually sticks out. That's going to make it look more three-dimensional. Okay, so I'm kind of going back this way. See, so then it's starting to actually form into that. So I would take out a little bit more around these edges here to make it pop just a little bit more, maybe a few more, a little bit more this way. And again, if your plastic knife works better for this, you do you. I'm quite partial to my little skewer situation over here. All right, so then when I get rid of that, it really starts to look like that's how the fin looks. Okay, so that is how you work on this, and you will turn in a nice video showing all of the directions of your object. Not this quickly, but you know. All right.